the happiest music out there. That's a tune called Fishin' Blues. Oh, I shouldn't even tell you. I should let you guess. Where the heck did that come from? So I hope it is, oh my gosh, where are we? It's Friday, December 10th. On a kind of gloomy day here in Northern California, probably every place in the world. I saw some of the weather reports from Vancouver, the Netherlands, everybody who's checking in on the forum. So I want to thank everybody for putting up some of the videos we've seen lately. Stunning. I hope to get to that. We'll talk about that one a little bit later, not today. But anyway, so yeah, I've been working on some kind of happy songs. I saw some threads floating around in the forum there, and a lot of blues tunes are pretty happy. So speaking of which, I hope people have seen some of the Gary Davis. So in continuing with our foray into country blues, we're now getting to some specific songs by some of the greats, or at least some of my favorites. There are a lot of greats out there that are not necessarily my favorites. So since I get to pick what songs I like to show people to a certain extent, we're going to be looking at some Gary Davis, maybe Mississippi John Hurt, maybe some Blind Blake, some of that stuff coming up. Maybe Taj Mahal. So anyway, speaking of the happiest place on earth, gotta let you know, we are almost down. We're down to the last 2 days of entries for the cool set of Disney Blu-ray things. So be sure to check these out. There's a whole different set of them. We got the boys, the singer-songwriters. We got some Sleeping Beauty stuff. We got all kinds of things. You know, Fantasia, and it's very simple. All you got to do is put a little post in the forum answering one of the questions that is asked about that specific thing. So Sunday is the deadline for this, the 12th, midnight, California time. When it turns to the 13th, it's over. And Matt's going to pick a winner and dish out some cool autographed discs by some of the head honchos at Disney. So speaking of other happy stuff and you know, recommending lessons, that is the next thing that is being finalized on the site. So I really appreciate, as I probably mention almost every week, you're probably getting sick of me hearing this, that it really helps me out to see songs on the recommend a lesson thing, because then I know somebody's interested in that song and we will get to it. I might get to some of the even obscure songs. I appreciate the fact that somebody threw in some of my favorites. They want to see Ocean Gypsy and other stuff like this. Anyway, might get to those, and even in the land of gray and pink. I don't know if we're ready for Caravan. But anyhow, the new and improved recommend a lesson module is just about ready to roll out, so you should be seeing some changes on that in the next couple of days. But the big stuff was, of course, all the new content that came out this week. Had a few reviews, did one on flame trees, we had a little Heart of Gold, and speaking of the reviews, we also had some Beatles. So, speaking of reviews, don't forget, it's really important that if you put an uploaded video for a review in there, that it goes into the Totally Guitars students, or the Totally Acoustic, you know, the channel. Follow the instructions, because it really is it's really important for us that we keep tabs on all that stuff and that we get it into all the proper places. So please put it up there. It's the only way we can make sure that a review can happen. And of course, I think I've even reviewed some things that people didn't ask to be reviewed, but so anything in the busking thing, I got to tell you, is fair game, because I've had a really good time seeing some of the stuff that people have been putting up in there. Now, we of course had some cool target lessons like every other week, ending up with starting off with the second half and the conclusion of Muriel's workshop from earlier this year. So, hope you guys have had a chance to see what she did for a small group. There were like 10 or so people at the music store at Joplin and Sweeney back when she came in, and just you know, everybody left inspired and probably a little what's the word I'm looking for there too? Anyway, discouraged probably too, because she's so good. But don't let that discourage you. So, well, let's see. We visited Gordon Lightfoot. And then we had Gary Davis. Little Candyman. Oh, and the two-step Candyman. I hope you guys get a chance to check that out, because the lesson on Candyman has the normal version of Candyman, but then the two-step version. so kind of a cool little different approach to that. Let's see, we visited Jackson Browne and the Eagles with campfire version of Take It Easy. That is nothing really too complicated in Take It Easy, so I had to keep it down to a campfire song. And then the other thing that came out today was John Lennon's lesson, Out of the Blue. Well, it wasn't John's lesson, it was Mark's lesson on John, the second half of the lesson that I did with our target student Mark M. a few weeks ago. So again, what he was looking for here was chords to a specific song. And you know what? I think I got one of them wrong. If you guys go back and watch that thing, I watched it a little while ago, and I think I missed something. So see if you can figure out what I need to adjust. And if anybody else would like music to that, put that in a little post in here, and we'll see what we can do about attaching at least the chord chart to it or something like that. I hope I didn't just stick my neck out, but we'll see. Mike, Big Jim, all those guys, they might get all over me for making an offer like that. But anyway, the fly on the wall videos are back, and I'm going to try to bring you some of those now as they can. So then we had, of course, each of the columns. On the beat, we had a little bit more of Mike Mullins' conversations with me about our childhood, and we visited with Bob Porter, my bass playing barber, who I need to go see him right now? I'm not sure. But who has all kinds of cool stuff. So the interviews with Bob were kind of neat. And then we also had Mike talking to the Gryphon guys, Richard Johnston and Frank Ford. We're kind of reminiscing about vintage Martins and things like that. So that was all part of the acoustic snapshots area. Then in the vintage, we had some visits with Val King, where we looked at him working on a Leslie amplifier, speaker system. There was this rotating speaker thing anyway, and he talked about a Fender Champ amp from the 50s as well. And then we also took a look at a 1957 Strat with our friends at Guitar Showcase. So taking a guitar that is basically a lot of parts all from like the same era, but there aren't many of these guitars that are all original parts because players swap out parts when they need them. So it's interesting finding guitars from that era. And then we rolled out the music gear reviews, and we looked at some Martin guitars, Taylor guitars, some Gibsons, and this cool little amp that Jack was using over there, the Mesa TA-15. So if you haven't seen that, this episode is just, it's stunning what this little amp the size of a box of Kleenex can do. And let's see, what did we have? We had the Luthier's Corner, where we had some last minute stuff from Keith talking about refretting a guitar and how to know if it needs a fret level. Two different things. Refretting is putting new frets in because frets wear out, and leveling the frets is something that's not as extreme. You kind of salvage what's in there and just get them all back to their normal state. So then we had, of course, some episodes of Making Music again. So I don't know if everybody's had a chance to check those out. I know there is a lot of stuff, not enough hours in the day to keep up with everything happening here. And but these episodes of Making Music, some of them are just fascinating. You know, we see the bass player from Whitney Houston's band has really interesting stories to tell, Polo Jones. And then we had early local bands out here, Childhood's End, and some other things like that. Now, that was more of a local thing, but still kind of neat to see what some journeyman musicians were doing back many years ago. And so I think that is it. Let me check my lists. We talked about happy songs. We talked about Disney. Recommend a lesson. Talked about the Target songs. The Mesa amp. Yes. I'm out of here. I can finally go back to playing the guitar. I will see you next week.